All right, we're live, and thanks for your patience, everyone. I'm Val Evans, and I have Grace Wilson with me. We are getting ready to do take two, part two of our broadcast tonight. And tonight we are focusing on a few things. I'm going to share the screen, and we're going to wait a few minutes because it doesn't look like anyone's here.
Okay.
We'll be talking to the air.
I have more dirt on Richard.
You do? Just in this amount of time? Oh. Can you say it now?
I mean, I didn't say it earlier. Do you want me to tell you?
Well,
he has
we're live.
Substance abuse issues.
Oh, does he?
Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we've got some viewers now. Thanks for joining us, guys, and being so patient. We both needed our echo cancellation on, right, Grace?
Yes.
We didn't realize that. So thank you for joining us today. We'll start over. I am Val Evans, and I have Grace Wilson, my fellow forensic astrologer, with me. And I am going to post that first part where Grace went through some of the charts, but we're going to pick up where we left off. And I am going to share my screen. And we are going to look at, well, we're gonna map Ann Burr tonight.
Yeah.
And we are going to, let's see, we're going to go through and show you how some astrologers use William Lilly's degrees for directions. And then we're also going to look at possibly where she is using scribble maps. But here's what I had in mind for us. We are going to, well, we already talked about the headlines, and we'll circle back to the headlines at the end so that we can have a little discussion about that. But I wanted to go and look at, can we look at Ted's natal chart again? It's pretty interesting. After reading Ann Burr. Now, you've already read that book, right?
Yes.
You read that a long time ago.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I just reread it.
And you okay. I was just wondering.
Before we did the show.
Okay. So I added this. The investigator said he was cold-blooded. Now, here are a few things. You can see my screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can see three things I put at the bottom here: multiple personalities, a scar that would appear when he would change. His eyes would turn black. Okay. So this is his chart. I want to view it. And that's too small. Okay. Can you see that sort of?
I can. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what's interesting is he spent most of his time near Mount Rainier. Or Rainier, however you say it.
Rainier.
I'm French. No. He was drawn to college towns. Okay. So what is college? Sagittarius. And so every part in his life, he was going towards college towns. Okay. The other thing that he would do is he was a planner. He would, whenever he was thinking of his next crime, he would painstakingly plan the murder. And so that's what we see in these crime charts. If Sagittarius comes into play and it's a really strong, maybe there's a stellium, or maybe the planet that represents the perpetrator is in Sagittarius, it usually means that it was planned. Okay. And what do Sagittarius people do? They're always thinking about the next trip. They're always planning. What are they going to do next? Because they have a big mind and they're just constantly projecting. So you see, look at how many points and planets are in Sagittarius there. Sun, Mars, Moon. Okay. He's got multiple personalities. So Ted Bundy, his ruling planet is the sun. Okay. And that's your personality. All right. It just happens to be the Lord of the Ascendant. So inside and out, he's a Leo. But the sun is trining Pluto. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, give or take. Okay. And what does Pluto mean? Pluto means a lot, many different personalities. And it's so close to his ascendant, meaning his personality. So he has a lot, a lot. And what is it doing? We have that trine from Pluto to the sun. And then we've got a sextile to Neptune. So many different personalities are disguised because Neptune is to disguise. So I thought that was really interesting. And there's so much here. There's so much here that you could pick apart. And with Scorpio, well, what does Scorpio represent? Revenge.
Mysteries. Yes, revenge.
Mysteries.
Jealousy.
And you mentioned mystery. Okay. Well, what did he do? What was he known for doing with his friends when he was 14? He would look for detective magazines and read them. And a lot of those in the late 50s, 60s, there were the big crime magazines were out, the True Detective types of magazines. So he ate them all up. Now that penchant turned to porn, and how he would, I guess, shift to that genre, and he would roam the alleys looking for it in the dumpsters, and he found it. So he would tell investigators later that he felt the best at night. That's when he came alive. So that might be under the horizon here. You can see that with all of these planets, and also the 12th house too. The 12th house is nighttime. It's when everyone's sleeping. And that's when he felt his most alive. Okay.
And he claims that he got most of his pornography, or his proclivity to pornography, because he found things in alleys. But it was reported that his grandfather had a huge stash of pornography. He was very into pornography. So
yes, yep, and he would dip into there too. Absolutely. Now we have his natal chart. We've got again, but it's another slide, multiple personalities. He was a planner. He had a scar that would appear. Okay, so let's look at that for a second. We have what's on your face is the ascendant, but there's also Chiron there. Chiron would be a mark, okay? And the mark would appear when he wanted to kill, or when he had those killing fantasies. So it would just appear, and it was a white mark, they said. So I think that Chiron aspects moon there, which would be white. So I thought that was interesting. Now, Grace, when you're young, you're at the ascendant part, right? And then you go around the clock counterclockwise. So would it be fair to say that once he was moving on to the second house, that was when he kind of hit that Neptune, and that's when he started to fantasize. He started, now third house is grade school though. So maybe I'm off a little bit, but at 14, they say that he might have been molested by a friend's father when he was in Boy Scouts, and which might be Neptune, without boundaries. Am I off here, do you think, or would you prefer to look more at third house? That's when he was really becoming, that's when he was still young and around 14 years old. What do you think?
Yeah, that would be like junior high, right?
Yeah, junior high, exactly. And then fifth house is high school. So
so it's going, he's moving between the third house and the fourth house. Okay. And Yeah, so he's going through I don't know how to describe it, but the Scorpio was his investigation, and then the Sagittarius was, he went out there. He went for it.
And I think it confirms that when he was a pretty young man, Jupiter was in Scorpio, and that's when he started to kill. It was, maybe a girl when he was very young. They say that Ann Burr's backyard, they collected all of this evidence, and what they found, they took a mold of the footprint. And the footprint, they said, was a teenage shoe. There was a track in the shoe that showed that it was pretty unique. So they tracked it down to a teenage shoe. So that's pretty interesting to me that there was a shoe that was left behind. And I think one of our viewers saw that last week, where there was a mark, which was Chiron, and Chiron can mean a mark, a tattoo, or a scar, and it was a shoe. And so it I believe it trined Neptune, which can mean shoes. Neptune rules Pisces, which is shoes. Okay, so the next one I have is, well, let's go back. His eyes would turn black. Now, your eyes tend to be Aquarius. Aquarius's eyes and ankles, but then also Aries too. What would you pick if you were to look at somebody's eyes, and if they were to change, which might be Pluto?
Yeah, I would say Pluto.
Okay, it's like transform. They would transform.
Right, because Pluto is, I believe, trying to. No. Is it squared? No.
Pluto squares Jupiter. And I don't know.
I would imagine, I'm just going to take a wild guess, but I would bet that there is an asteroid or something right there that either means to change. And I thought oh yes, Sun, Chimera. The Chimera is a shapeshifter.
Okay, well, we got to look at that. We'll look at that another time, but I think I got something here.
Okay.
Now, remember when I was just saying on one of the charts that we were looking at, I want to say it was Eliza's, that when you have the ascendant in Leo, you're usually blonde or reddish blonde hair. But if you have Saturn close to the ascendant in either the 12th or the first house, it can mean you have darker hair, that it's it colors the blonde, colors it black. So if I've got black here, okay, well, what are his eyes? His eyes were blue, okay, and that is Neptune, okay. So you've got, hold on.
So that's a sextile, huh?
Yeah, that's a sextile. So you have blue, you've got blue eyes, and then Pluto is right there. It changes to black. So blue eyes change to black. Maybe at night, 12th house, while he's killing, squaring Jupiter in Scorpio. And also while he is aggressive too, or maybe he's using a weapon with Neptune, not Neptune, the trine to Mars. Okay, let's see.
Interesting.
Yeah, so this is, ascendant is what people look like. And this is Ted Bundy's natal chart. He's got blue eyes with this aspect to Neptune. Neptune means blue, but those eyes change to black. Pluto, it's like a metamorphosis. And then also, look, you've got Uranus, which also means to change. So you've got Uranus trine Neptune. And that's changing blue from changing blue to black. So you can see it in that respect too. It's kind of more north node, but
But it's also opposite his sun, which
Mhm.
again is shape-shifting.
Yes. Okay.
Wild.
All right. So, okay, he was a master at disguise, which would be Neptune. We already talked about the porn. Revenge was a major motivation. By the time he's in college, he even went back to the girl that dumped him, pretended like he was interested, and then dumped her. So she was very lucky that she just got dumped. But it was soon after then that he started killing other people.
Yep.
But that was his first real act of revenge, added to, the fact that he just liked to kill.
Yeah.
One thing, do you remember the girlfriends were saying how I didn't understand, like he really enjoyed scaring me. And there were multiple times when the girls they would be on a date with him and he just jumped out and they would scream and he would laugh and he just got a lot of energy from that. I think that Uranus is to jump.
He also used to like to take little girls into the woods and abuse them when he was 12 to
That's
14
right.
years old.
That's right. That's right.
So I'm sure that was pretty scary.
Exactly. Yeah, so he would get energy from jumping. Like you can see Uranus there in the 10th. I think that might be to jump and to scare and to hide with Neptune in the 2nd. Now, he considered himself, he said, a vampire. So blood would be Mars. South node is like a leak, like a blood, like leaking blood. And I wonder if that's almost part of his personality. His signature is right here. And what he did in secret. Now, he moved his victims' bodies a lot. And I think that is really important here because when we look at these crime charts, that's one of the big questions that come up. Because people look and they wonder. People even look on some of these YouTube channels and they want to see where they're looking, and then they'll go and they'll change the location. But to change, I want to say it's Uranus, could be Pluto. What do you think?
I'm going to say Uranus because it's in Gemini, which is a movable, air sign.
Yes.
And he liked to scatter things. So I would go with Uranus on this one.
That's right. And then also aspecting Venus in Scorpio with Jupiter. Jupiter is a lot. Venus is women. Mercury is groups of women. And so he's killing Scorpio, groups of women, and then he's changing them out in the open and doing weird things to them, as he told investigators. It's just unbelievable what he would do. He would put makeup on them, and now that would be Neptune makeup. So that's a big one for him. Was that Neptune? Okay, so what I did was I did a horary. Where is Ann buried? And I saw a little bit of a similarity with one of the other charts we did, and that was Maria Rydolph. And her chart had, I believe she was Venus, and then it was a straight drop down, and there was Neptune right here. And I can't remember. Then she also had Saturn in Sagittarius. So a body was found in open field, but there was another clue there that she was found in mushrooms, in a mushroom field. So when I saw that, like, okay, when I saw that chart, I was like, okay, this chart is telling me where she started and where she ended up. Okay. Usually fourth is end of the matter. But now we have the third here with this horary, and a horary is just asking a question: where is Ann buried? I'm asking about a dead person, so the ascendant in Capricorn makes sense. Okay, so you could look at Saturn, which is in the second house. But I just saw that elevated planet, Mercury. And Mercury can mean a small child. And remember, what is Ann's last name? It's Burr. And Burr is a Capricorn name. So that shows her name right there, and that she was killed at 8 degrees, the Scorpio degree. So I think this is a pretty good horary. So you would
Wasn't she
have
8 years old?
Oh my God. That's amazing. So the reason I'm doing this now is because it's one of our methods when we're trying to find someone. We look really well in the crime chart. We look at the birth chart. We pull a horary, and we see the common themes here. So if I were to look at this chart like I did with Maria Rydolph's, which is featured in our next video, which I've not made public yet, but I will. Grace, you've seen it. You've approved it. So I just need to put it out. But Mercury, isn't that amazing how it's an opposition down to Jupiter in Aries. So what that tells me is, and people wouldn't say it was a stellium, I don't think, in the third house, but I call it a stellium because if there's a lot of points in a house, I think it's a stellium. So sometimes in astrology, you've got to make up your own rules a little bit, if they keep working. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Grace, you can remain silent. But Jupiter in Aries. Okay. So Aries means sports, like a sports complex. It could mean where construction is, where there's a lot of nails, where there's a lot of hammers, where there's a lot of metal. Okay. And the third house, that would show, wouldn't that show that she's close to the
in
house?
the neighborhood?
She's in the neighborhood. She's local. Okay. She's in the ninth. That would show she is
Way far away.
But if we are looking at the third, and that third is ruled by Jupiter and Neptune, okay, so that's giving that more dimension to the third. So it might be a wet place. And what happened that night? It was raining. It was raining. There was mud. That's how they got the shoe print in the first place, because the shoe was in the mud as he was trying to get inside that house. And can I also add, what represents the window? Neptune. Neptune's a window. It's glass.
Yeah.
Okay. So he got in through that window. And I think that also plays out in the crime chart. But anyway, I think that just going by this horary, that it could give us a clue that something's red, there's construction, that there's water around because of Neptune. And it also shows it like it's a local mystery too. It's like the neighborhood mystery because Neptune is mystery. All right. So here I put this little thing under, I put this together. It's a little bit, I don't know. I don't know what you think of it. I tried to make it clear. There was a sewer project right near Ann's house. Now, Ted lived at his uncle's house. His uncle lived here first, and then I think he lived like right down the street next. So he lived in 2 different houses here. Okay. And he lived by a major road. So that's kind of interesting where like Mercury is 2, and 9th house is like a highway. But so Ted, you can see, and this is a half mile right here. You can see he lives less than half a mile away from her. And they're the 2 main areas that they were looking at where Ann could possibly have gone. Ann Burr was the sewer project, which was the southwest of her. And then there were fraternities under construction. And they thought that he might have put her right where the construction was, which now there's a paved road over it. So I think that it's possible that there's construction everywhere. So that doesn't help us. We think she's local. We think she's in the neighborhood. And I also like to look at Saturn too, because Saturn is a body. But I'm thinking it's a sewer project. And I am going to next one here. Hold on. I want to get to her crime chart.
Ann's.
Yeah, Ann's. Oh, it's around here somewhere. Hang on with me. Is her. That's Ted.
That's the crime chart. But with the transits are the outside of the.
Yep, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I put it in here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do Princess Diana at some point. We are. Can you see I'm pulling this up? It was August 31st, 1961, 5:30 a.m. What she was first declared missing by mom, and it was Tacoma. Okay. All right, so here we go. And what I'm thinking here, we have her as Sun, okay? She was snatched suddenly with Uranus there, and not unlike what happened with Eliza, where that was sudden. And also with Kylie, because we saw a man suddenly do something because Mars was conjunct Uranus.
Mm-hmm.
But look how there's a sextile with Ann's planet, Sun, with Neptune there in the third house in Scorpio.
I can't see what the chart you're looking at.
Oh, you can't? Okay.
No. I'm looking at the chart. It's got 24 Capricorn on the AC.
Okay, hold on. Okay, can you see this?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so. All right, so you've got her, you've got Sun, okay? You have Anne. Anne is Sun. She, let's see here. That's amazing. Uranus is right on the ascendant. That's amazing. Like exactly on her. Like you can't. And then it's partile North Node. That is the biggest shock, like you could even ever imagine.
I can't imagine. That would scare the bejesus out of me.
And mom couldn't get to her. Moon's up at the top. Yeah. She didn't see it, which is that square, that red line there. You can see how. And I don't know why Moon is up there at the MC, but anyway, Sun is sextiling Neptune in the third house in Scorpio, and Scorpio rules sewers. This is my theory.
Mm-hmm.
And in the third house, and there's Neptune there with water, again, local mystery, and it's in Scorpio, so local sewer. That's where I think she is. I think she's in that sewer, or well, it was a sewer project, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's different than a sewer. They were working on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's around there. I do.
I'm going to concur because if we look at this chart, no, go back where you
Oops,
were.
sorry.
No.
Okay.
If we look at this, the sun is conjunct Pluto. Pluto is nasty, right? Virgo, food,
Yes.
disposal, that kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, so you say, well, okay, Saturn, where's Saturn? Saturn is Capricorn. Capricorn, again, is sewers, not sewers, but it's government type
Yes.
work. And
Government
it's on,
changes. Government
yes,
changes
yes,
with that Pluto.
right.
Oh,
So,
good
and then
one.
the IC is the condition of the graves. So, wet and gross. I don't know how else to say it. So, I am going to concur with that. And I think it is right next to some kind of businesses, like right around there. Maybe, I don't know about the fraternity houses. I would think that that would be more like ninth house. But the sewer project by the street, that's sort of a border. So maybe.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So with that being said, I am going to we're going to look at the map again. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We have Ann down here. We've got Ted, who he went back and forth, and within a half a mile around her, there's fraternities under construction. There's a project here. There's a project there. They're hemmed in between two projects, okay, with lots of nails and Mars-related things like, hammers and metal equipment. But there's no water over here. There is nothing really Scorpio related there.
Right.
And so I'm going to say it's the sewer project, and you concur. Now I'm going to go.
Can I map it?
We're going to map it. Okay, so what we want to do. Where am I?
Oh.
Okay. This is what I got. This is where Ann is. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the sewer project was here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now we've got. So if we look at, let's see, what did I do? I can't remember if I used the Horary map or, yeah, I used Scorpio, okay, and I used Neptune. Neptune at 9 degrees, okay? So what I did was I went, so we've got Scorpio, and why Neptune? Because Sun moves to Neptune, okay? It's like that's where she went. So Neptune at 9 degrees. We should probably look up what that is. I don't know what 9 degrees is as far as a fixed star. Probably not anything good, but so what we're going to do is 9 degrees. And this doesn't always work. It sounds clever, but you could say it's 219. A lot of times I'll just use the William Lilly degrees. I think it's a good idea to add the degrees, but that doesn't always work. So, but you get 219. And so what you do is you go to Scribble Maps, and it's really important to put in the precise address if possible, okay? Putting in Tacoma is really not going to help. You really have to put in that specific street. So that's what we did. We put in 3009 North 14th Street. We plugged in Neptune, and sure enough, that was right where the sewer project was. So
1 second. Keep talking.
Okay. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Now we need a YouTuber who goes through the sewer or is a good person to take on this assignment, because I think she's there. All right, now we're going to go to, I'm going to go to Tallahassee real quick. And no, I'm not going to go to Tallahassee.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Val, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm back.
Okay. This is the crime chart again. Okay. What I wanted to show you is there's Chiron there. There's that mark. Okay. And it was right by the window where he got in. And you see this with Madeline McCann too. He got in through the window, I think. And I believe Neptune is right in the third or close to the fourth. So he got in the window, but he left behind, north or south node left behind a mark by the window. And it was his shoe print. And Pisces is shoe. So is Neptune. Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. So if you want to look for shoe prints, look in Pisces. See if you got something with south node. And even though south node right now, it shows Aquarius, and Aquarius is like evidence, it's DNA, but there was not going to be any DNA collected at that point, not in 1961. So they had a real hard time finding anything that was left behind. But it's close enough to that mark, to that Chiron, to maybe show that something was left behind, that like a teenage footprint. Okay, and all right, I think that's all I wanted to cover. We talked about his transits with Tallahassee. Yeah, I don't think I want to do anything like, I don't want to cover that anymore. I'm done with Bundy right now. But we did want to talk a little bit more. Let's go over
Keely.
Is it Kylie or Keely?
It's Kylie. I mean,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I would pronounce it Keely if I had named it.
I know. I think it's pretty obvious that the police are going to get whoever it is. It seems like the police have a lot of power, and they're going to use technology. You can see how when they used technology before, it didn't work because there's that square there. And there's a square with Saturn. Look at how Mars with Uranus squares Saturn. That's the police equipment. But let's see here. I don't know. I think it's really interesting that Jagger's there in the first. I know that the mob is going to probably try to say that he was a part of this. The mob meaning the social media mob. What do you think is going to happen next?
Well, that's a good question. Let's see, where's Mercury? I forgot.
Mercury's in
third
the
house.
third.
Could be that somebody spills the beans.
Yeah, that's a witness.
Mm-hmm.
Mercury is also the phone too. She didn't have the phone to help her because of that square with Moon meaning help. So that was kind of lost there. But you would look at Mercury?
Yes, Mercury, like I said, is the witness. And it's only making one major aspect, which is to the moon. So that to me says that one person in the neighborhood close to where she was in the fifth house, probably doing fifth house things, which would be drinking and partying and that kind of thing, you know.
Well, as we normally do, we're going to look at the fourth house for the end of the matter. And you put Nate there, and you mentioned him a little bit. Interesting how Nate is at 18 degrees, the evil degree. I also think it's interesting that it's opposing Jupiter and Chiron. Does that mean this person who might be named Nate, does he have a lot of tattoos? Because Chiron is tattoo. So that might show a description there. But it also might show how this ends, where, you know, a person with that name, or I don't know. So they are reporting about Nate, huh?
I'm not sure that they're reporting.
Okay.
They're talking about it on social media.
Okay.
So,
well, what I had seen in that chart was that Sun was in Leo. So to me, it showed that he might be, I don't know, of Leo quality. So it opposes Saturn and then squares Mars.
And it opposes Kylie.
And opposes Kylie, yeah. That's right. So it shows that he's not successful in getting away with a crime, and that it didn't go his way because of those squares. But we also have Saturn that we look at, which is the Lord of the seventh, which represents the perpetrator, and that being in the eighth house. He's a murderer. Once the seventh house Lord hits the eighth, that person is a murderer. And so again, more T-square there. I would really like to see some kind of aspect to either Pisces or usually the 12th house, because the 12th house is jail. You want to see that somebody's going to pay for this crime.
Well, Gemini and Mercury is in the third house, witness.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Now, M says the tow truck driver, Nick, claimed to see Kylie and Jagger the day after. Now, they're not sure if it's Jagger, I don't think. He kind of gave a description of who it was. He said he had hair coming out. He was talking about the San Francisco jersey or a hat or whatever. They're saying that maybe he got that confused. But
I would like to have the timestamp to that. Wouldn't you?
When they were talking, yes, why she was fearing him.
Or better, when he got the call, when AAA or whomever got the call to send someone out. That would tell us so much.
Yeah. Now there's something like something that's.
Anyone can get that. Email Val.
Yeah, exactly. If they were using.
Sorry.
Yes, please. Mercury node mean false witness. Yeah, Mercury with the node would, or Mercury opposing Neptune, but it's not super clear there. There is a false, well, Mars and false accident. Uranus with the node might be a false accident, false car accident, or false call. Maybe she was trying to save herself. I don't know. So where do you think Eliza is? Do you think she's close?
I don't know. Let's look at her chart.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay. So the sun's in the second house in Virgo.
I am going to say that they're going to find her. You see Eliza there, and it's trining. I think it's already happened where there was a shock that they found something that's related to her, which was the perp's car. But I think they're going to suddenly find her.
Yes.
That's something sudden, that's for sure.
Yes. Yeah. I would say so.
Uranus
Again,
also,
Saturn is angular, so it's not
yes. The moon at 22 would show that maybe she didn't make it. But Uranus, it shows an independence of some sort, like breaking free. But it might allude to her trying to break free, but it didn't work because of the opposition with Moon there.
That is a possibility.
Yeah.
So Saturn is in Aquarius.
Yep.
And so rocks, high places. Seventh house is like near people. It's not like in the woods. It's near people. Aquarius is a humane sign.
That's right.
And Mercury is at the IC, which is the condition of the grave. So again, we're looking at maybe near a dump or near wastewater treatment plant or something of that nature. Something Pluto ruled.
There was definitely a weapon there. You see that Mars. I circled that up there, squaring the sun. So it's almost like he was trying to do something in public, but it didn't work with that square, the red line there.
Yeah.
But he did go very fast, which is Uranus, is to go fast.
Yes, he did. That was really quick.
They were in a park, which they were looking for. They were looking everywhere for her in that park, which is Leo. So that would make sense. And that's where she was kidnapped, which is her, what is it? Persephone.
Yes.
Persephone, yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to continue to look at this. If you guys have any ideas, we're going to put them in with our clues, and maybe we'll map this week. But we've got Omens coming up tomorrow, and then I've got 1 or 2 shows next week with some psychic investigators, the psychics, on some cases that they've done. So, and Grace, what we're going to do is probably put up the book in some way, shape, or form on what we're going to read next, and that's about a psychic. Is that right?
Well, it's about a murderer who it was actually recently in 2021 was finally solved, but she did have help from a psychic, and it was just one of the most fascinating reads. And actually, I think there's 3 books, but the first one is obviously the best. Lois Duncan, she's a writer of children's books. Her daughter was gunned down in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And
Lois Duncan.
Pardon me?
I'm writing it down for everybody. Lois Duncan.
And it's called What Happened to My Daughter.
Okay. You think we can get some timestamps from that?
Oh, yes. We got some great timestamps for that one. And yeah, and so I thought it would kind of tie in because we've been really looking at serial killers. And this just came out of the blue. This guy, they didn't realize that he had gunned people down as well as stabbing them to death. And I mean, it was complete, total MO change, but he confessed to it. So it'll be interesting to see the P&A asteroids and that kind of thing. Be exciting.
Exactly. Yeah, and I don't know if I spelled that right. Lois Duncan, Lois.
LOIS. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so take a look at that. Also, I wanted to, before we sign off, I wanted to mention that Edwin Leonard, who is a wonderful astrologer, he has a YouTube channel, 25,000 subs, I think. He's having some hard time, and he is looking for some help with the astrology community. And so I thought I would put that information out there. Go, at the very least, subscribe to his channel. Maybe ask him for a reading. I think he also has a fundraiser going. It seems like he might have some health issues. So definitely give him some love. He's such a great guy, and he's been around for a long time, and he's helped a lot of people learn about astrology. So, and if you're interested in reading more about forensic astrology, you can go to Amazon and download my book, Forensic Astrology 101. Using timestamps to investigate unsolved mysteries. You can also go to Forensic Astrologer, and then Instagram. I always have different cases on there at Forensic Astrologer. So thank you, Grace. Thank you for your time today. And thanks to all who have had patience with us navigating through. It was not Grace's fault. It was StreamYard's fault. It was not my fault. Well, it really was. But we will talk to you. When do you think we should do this? Probably after retrograde, huh?
Yeah, we'll probably wait a couple of weeks. Pretty good idea.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye, Grace.
Okay. Bye, everybody.